Hi, Brian. So the reason I I don't do a lot of specifics about like what someone should do, younger people or anybody for that matter should do, for their future. I try to focus more on the principles, and because principles tend to endure a lot longer than something specific. So, for example, think of how many people right now are trying to rush in to be a social media influencer. That market is flooded. So, for example, just use this for example purposes, okay? So it's flooding. So if I say become a social media influencer and you'll make millions of dollars, the thing is that that market is heavily flooding, and it's creating, of course, a lot of problems. And that's why I wouldn't tell anybody anything that's really highly specific. Now, from a principle standpoint, that I can help you. And I would tell anybody this. It doesn't make any difference if you're in junior high or, if you're 80 years old, it doesn't matter. I would tell you this. Start thinking about the money in terms of hard asset, hard money. Okay, so something where I don't care what you're doing. It doesn't make any difference if you're making hamburgers. It doesn't make any difference if you're working on cars. It doesn't make any difference if you're digging ditches, running an excavator, roofing, being a plumber. One of the millions of plumbers that are all surfacing now. It doesn't make any difference what job it is that you choose to do. Find something that I don't want to say that you love doing. I would never say something like that. I don't curse people that way. Find something that is somewhat profitable and that you can do and do it very competently. And then start pushing the agenda, and I would tell this to all young people, of, hey, if you're going to pay me for my time, you're going to pay me in something you can't just conjure out of nothing. That includes dollars. US dollars are conjured out of nothing. They are complete crap. And so that's a principle that if enough people start doing that, that's going to put very serious hurt on all the employers. Having said that, you're also competing with a bunch of people who will take dollars, and they're just going to keep putting more and more into the country who do this. It is a sad reality, and it's one that the young people, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Other people may try and dance around it. I'm not going to. I'm just going to tell you that if you flood a country with a bunch of people, a bunch of slaves, right, how do you compete with that in the real world? How do you compete with them? Because you need to make enough money to pay all of your bills and live a life. You can't really compete with somebody who is being subsidized on the back end. So, as for specifics, I kind of like hard trades, meaning something that's tangible, especially as division of labor kind of breaks down a little bit, because we're going to go through this. There's no way out of this at this point. We're going to go through a slight breakdown in division of labor. Division of labor is what gave us this bounty. Division of labor is what gave us this incredible lifestyle, because people were able to, with the understanding, back in the day, when they came to the U.S., when they came to America, we're talking about like the 1800s, okay, and before. The understanding was that they could keep what they make, and if they kept what they make, that gave them an opportunity to become tradesmen and artists and so forth, and artists within the trade, right? That means that, so you could be doing a trade, I use shoemaking as a good example, right? You could be making shoes, but if you get good at it at a certain point, you get really good at it, and you get to the point where your shoes aren't just shoes anymore; they're like works of art, right? And then people want to pay for that because it's unique. So that's just an example, okay? But that's what you want. You want a civilization like that, where division of labor is divided like that. And when you have a distortion of currency like we see now, and I harp on this all the time, okay, so my answer is going to be a little different than what I've said before. You create distortion. You end up causing all kinds of problems in the marketplace to where people don't, it starts breaking down division of labor, because people then start thinking, oh, I don't have to be good at anything. I can just be good at making money. It's sort of like saying, I don't have to be good at anything. I should be good at, gambling, and I could win. And I know there's a bunch of people out there who will disagree with me on this, because they'll say, well, no, I look at the stochastic stochastics and I watch the the technicals and blah blah blah. That's no different than watching the marble spin around in a roulette table and then saying, yeah, it's going to be 35 black. I mean, there's very little control over, direct control over that. Remember, owning your means of production, okay, not state-owned and not corporate-owned. They are the same thing. This is why it's strange to me that the left and the right haven't really figured this out. They just want to argue because they have nothing else better to do, and most of them aren't very smart. But giant corporate-owned means of production and giant government-owned means of production will lead to the exact same disaster in which we currently find ourselves. So my suggestion, I guess principally, might be something like try to get good at being able to take care of yourself, and then start trying to learn anything that somebody will teach you, like for real. Learn how to fix cars. You learn how to do, you learn how to do all this stuff, because you're probably going to end up having to do it that way for a while. And not just you, but like millions and millions of other young people who are going to be stuck in this position of like, well, I can get really good at, like, say, being an electrician. I work with electricity all the time professionally, as do many people that I know. And there's more and more and more and more flooding into that every single week. And because everybody's trying to figure out what to do because of all the goddamn distortions. And they're all trying to pay debt, endless amounts of dollar-denominated garbage debt, to bankers. It really is, that is really the problem. And it's created a huge mess in the economy. So my only advice is that I can't give you a silver bullet. Everybody wants a silver bullet. Everybody wants me to tell them, like, what's Bitcoin going to be in 2 years? Like, it's like it's sort of like asking for a stock tip, and so, like wanting a sure thing kind of stock tip. And there's just no way to do that unless you're doing something highly specific. But education is critical, and I will tell you this, though. The type of education that you want is not going to come from anywhere in academia, at any level of academia. K through 16 or 22 or whatever the hell, people are staying in school now till they're in their mid-40s or some weird shit like that. No, the type of education that you want is not going to come from that. That's all propaganda. That's all crap. Most of it's designed to get you to just keep buying shit from companies and wanting to work for big companies, and then they're not going to hire you anyway. They've made it very clear they don't want anybody that is going to want, especially if you want hard currency, they will never hire you. So, like, this is really a challenge, and it is a problem. And military service. The military is becoming, not only is it it's become a joke. The military categorically has pretty much become a joke at this point. And once again, same problem. They're just printing dollars out of nothing to pay, for guys who are willing to just sacrifice the country to get a paycheck. That's it. You're not even paid in land anymore. They won't do that. In the old days, military guys used to get paid in land, like tax-free forever type land. They owned the land, the minerals, everything, and they would get it forever. They'd get like 50,000 acres forever, right? No one's doing that anymore. Now it's like, hey, take a bunch of worthless garbage and here's some so-called free medical when you get old, and it's not going to be worth anything when you get there, right? So sorry to not have like a magic bullet, but if I told you anything other than what I just told you, it would be me just trying to sell you some kind of get rich quick package, and how to, be a middleman on the internet. And that stuff only works for a little while, because eventually math will catch up with it. I hope I answered your question.